The New York Times is reporting on another incident involving police misconduct. This is a case that has garnered quite a bit of national outrage, and rightfully so if you ask me. They explain, quote, a police officer who climbed onto the hood of a car after a chase in 2012 and fired repeatedly at its unarmed occupants, both of them black, was acquitted of manslaughter on Saturday by an Ohio judge. So here we go again. Let's take a look at some more details here. They say, quote, Officer Michael Brello, 31 years old, was one of 13 officers who fired 137 rounds at Timothy Russell and his passenger, Melissa Williams, who were killed after a chase through Cleveland on November 29, 2012. Officer Brello fired his Glock 17 pistol 49 times, including at least 15 shots after he reloaded and climbed onto the hood of Mr. Russell's 1979 Chevrolet Malibu, and the other officers had stopped firing. The chase started downtown after reports of gunfire from the car. Prosecutors said the noise apparently was the result of the car's backfiring. More than 100 officers pursued the car for more than 20 miles at speeds that reached 100 miles an hour. They began firing when the car was stopped and cornered. Okay. So, inevitably, all the conservatives are going to say, well, I shouldn't have ran from the cops, shouldn't have driven high speeds away from the cops. Not what you do, man. Yeah, dude, we all agree with that. 100% of people agree with that. You shouldn't run from the cops. You shouldn't do a high-speed chase. You shouldn't do any of that stuff. We all agree. But the issue in question here is that a crime worthy of death? And if you answer yes to that, perhaps the person who's more in favor of injustice is you. Perhaps you're the problem here. Perhaps you're not willing to be objective and you're only willing to focus on the alleged crimes of the victims and not the people who actually did more wrong here, namely the police officers. Okay, again, yes, they shouldn't have ran from the cops. We agree. But also, you shouldn't fire hundreds of rounds, 137 rounds at unarmed people when they're cornered in their car after the chase. So remember, they knew they were cornered. They knew they were cornered. Everything in the article indicates that. They had a full understanding of the situation. Is it still possibly a dangerous situation? Yes, absolutely. Is it dangerous enough to merit firing 137 rounds where you keep reloading and stand on the hood of the car and continue to fire after you know they're not moving? No, it's not. No, it's not. The facts do not merit that. That's not an appropriate response given the facts of the situation. That's not me being too hard on the cops. That's me using my brain and not even kicking it into hyperdrive. This isn't a crazy conclusion you draw from the facts of this case. This conclusion's right in front of you. You don't fire, reload, fire, reload, get on the fucking top of the car like you're Alonzo in Training Day or some shit, and you keep fucking firing at them. Are you kidding me? What kind of shit is that? So if you're going to focus on them speeding away, okay, you can discuss that. But then you also have to discuss how wrong it is that they act like this in response. So now you understand the facts of the case. Let's get to the comments from the judge here, because this is very telling. So according to Judge John P. O'Donnell, quote, while Officer Brello did fire lethal shots at the two people, testimony did not prove that his shots caused either death. Okay. You have a problem here. This is, okay, it's a tautology what you just said here. While Officer Brello did fire lethal shots. Okay, let's pause. What does that mean, ladies and gentlemen? While he did fire lethal shots. While he did fire lethal shots. That means he fired shots that were lethal, that killed him. He fired lethal shots. He fired shots that killed him. That's what that means. He fired shots that killed him. Though he fired shots that killed them, testimony did not prove that his shots caused either death. Then they're not lethal shots. Were they lethal shots or were they not lethal shots? Well, again, let's go back to what I said before here. He fired his Glock 17 pistol 49 times, including at least 15 shots after he reloaded and climbed onto the hood. So none of those killed him? None of them hit him? None of them. None of those hit him. None. By the way, if he did kill them with one of these bullets here, okay, you should be in jail. Guilty. Because the charges are manslaughter, not even murder. So there doesn't even need to be malintent here. He just has to have done the act. Well, he did the act, okay? So if that's the case, put him in jail. But if he missed them, you still have to fire his punk ass because he's the most ineffective shot of all time, right? So which is it, dude? According to your own standards, right? The police department, the highly trained police officers, that's what they do. They always nail everything. Okay, well, what about when they fire from point fucking blank range 49 times and they don't hit once? No, but see, that's the thing. They did hit. We know they hit. The officer's being a fucking idiot. All right, we're not done yet. He says, the state did not prove beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendant, Michael Brello, knowingly caused the deaths of Timothy Russell and Melissa Williams. Officer Brello had reasonably perceived a threat from Mr. Russell's car. The decision to continue firing from the hood was protected by law. Really? That's protected by law? Now, remember, conservatives always tell us there's no two justice systems. There's one justice system. Whether you're the police officer or somebody, a regular citizen, justice is blind. It applies the same to both of you. So flip the scenario. So let's say two black civilians get on the hood of a police car, fire over 100 times in there, reload and continue to fire. One of the people shoots 49 times. The officers are dead. Would the judge say the same thing? Remember, they tell us justice is blind. It doesn't matter who does it, right? It's irrelevant if it's a cop or your average person. It doesn't matter. So would the judge say the same thing here if you flip the roles? Would he say, look, regardless of whether or not we like these armed black civilians here and killing the cops, it's protected by law to stand on the hood and fire in over fucking 40 times? Please spare me, man, if you really think that's the case. And it's only because he perceived a threat from Mr. Russell's car. Now, hold on. So he perceived a threat. So the idea is, well, in his mind, it was somewhat justified. But wait a second. Nobody's saying that the cop had malicious intent according to the lawsuit, right? Somebody else might argue that, but in the lawsuit, the charges are manslaughter. Manslaughter, you do not need to prove malintent. It's just the person died, you were responsible for it. So he's so off base. I don't know how anybody could come to this conclusion. I have my own little conspiracy on that. I'm not going to share it here because I don't want to open myself up to ridiculous attacks from people who are idiots in the first place. I just want to spare myself the headache. But let's just say, for a judge to come to these conclusions, I don't think the judge is really that stupid because I don't think anybody could be that stupid. I think something else is probably going on here. I got one more here for you. They say, I reject the claim, this is the judge, I reject the claim that 12 seconds after the shooting began, it was patently clear from the perspective of a reasonable police officer that the threat had been stopped. 13 officers fired 137 rounds at Timothy Russell and Melissa Williams. This one officer on trial fired 49 times, reloaded, stood on the hood, and continued to fire. He just said, it was patently clear from the perspective of a reasonable police officer. He said, I reject the claim that 12 seconds after the shooting began, it was patently clear from the perspective of a reasonable police officer that the threat had been stopped. Because, black people are Superman. Their bodies are made of fucking Kevlar, whatever the fuck it's called that the bulletproof vests are made of. Obviously. There's foul play here. And then I'll leave you with this. Patrick A. D'Angelo, one of Brello's lawyers, stayed classy, and he blamed, quote, an oppressive government for bringing charges at all. We stood tall, we stood firm because we didn't do anything illegal. We didn't do anything wrong. Dude, even if you get off, and he got off, have a little fucking human decency. You did nothing wrong? You can say I did something wrong, but I don't think I should be put in jail. You can say that. You can say that. But he doesn't, no, I didn't even do anything wrong. I didn't do anything illegal. I didn't do anything wrong. We stood firm like they're the victims. Yeah, I shot and killed a guy, shot 49 times, stood on the hood like a fucking gangster and shot 49 times. But I'm the good guy. I'm the victim here. Yeah, he's dead and he was unarmed, but I'm the good guy here. An oppressive government brought the charges in the first place. No, you know who the oppressive government was? You, when you killed the unarmed black people. That's who's oppressive.